So deconnect. So we are relatively new. I suppose we are established just about 6 months now at this stage, and we're a digital health innovation hub based out of Dundalk, IT. I guess we have a mandate to augment the activity in digital health and well-being across Ireland, but Ireland and beyond, and hence today's session collaboration across different groups from the university sector to early stage companies to corporate. And really we have had a lot of support. Enterprise Ireland are our major funders, and then a lot of support from businesses also contributing to the funding, and from government and local agencies as well. And really our mission is to stimulate and foster and enhance innovation in digital health, a really big and growing area, an area that I guess Ireland can play a major role in. We have huge amount of talent across the sector, across pharma, biotech and medtech, and also across the IT, ICT companies and technology companies. So very interesting for us to have that talent pool and be able to create new ideas, businesses and products to address the needs of society. Getting a good bit of feedback. Anybody else getting feedback? Maybe on my end only. So we are a connector, as the name suggests, building that bridge between the businesses, early and late stage, and the healthcare sector. You know, we're involved with the public and private clinics and hospitals and people providing healthcare, and also, you know, then across with the universities and community as patient-centric care becomes more of a focus. So we do help people to commercialize their research and provide those bigger businesses with that view of innovation. Often, you know, the investors and corporate businesses are keeping an eye out for the new and the innovative. And so hopefully working with them, we'll be able to bring some more support to the sector. So we have a large audience. As I said, it really is the entrepreneurial community, the capital and the investment community who invest in those early stage companies. And of course, government who also do a large amount of investing, particularly here in Ireland, but also in Europe as we see Horizon 2020 fading out and the new Horizon coming in. And hopefully we'll find out more about that. We're based at Dundalk IT. There's some very strong research groups there in this sector in digital health, across community groups, and also in regulated software. And then, of course, we have our collaborations and a strong connection with many of the corporates, many of whom are, you know, moving into or have made great changes internally to change from maybe pure pharma or biotech to being data-driven. And so my colleague, Brendan Casey, is building out alongside Deconnect a cluster of businesses, of, you know, third levels of everybody that's involved in this area, right across Ireland and beyond. And then ourselves, we are really a knowledge hub, a go-to. We obviously have a number of workshops that we've rolled out, and we continue to do that and move towards modularized programmatic activity over the next while. So bringing people together as a knowledge share, but also having specific offerings in education as well. I myself have spent quite a bit of time supporting early stage companies and building out enterprises. And my colleague, Sarah, is a serial entrepreneur. So a lot of experience in the entrepreneurial sector and support of entrepreneurism. And then we see a lot of change happening. So this rapid digitization where people are, you know, adopting new technologies, many who maybe didn't provide products or services that had a digital element, or they didn't have a digital business model, are now moving into that space, and we support and help that transition as well. And from any perspective, we should all be thinking globally. And so really for us, you know, every company, big or small, really needs to be looking at how they can play on a global stage. And we do have some workshops in August and September around thinking about your customer and moving into different markets. This is our team, myself, Sarah, whom I mentioned, the Community and Education Manager, serial entrepreneur, very experienced. lady, and then Surafel, who is our whiz in the software element. And he has been working with a lot of companies in terms of prototyping. So we offer our, I suppose, business and mentoring support, but also technical support. So that's really to allow companies to maybe generate a new technology and add to their portfolio of products and or service as well, or even to augment internal capabilities. So we have a few workshops coming up. We're trying to maybe, oh, that should be July. That one's a misspelling there, but that one was held last month. But we have more coming up in the next while. Just to say, I suppose, that we would maybe not have as many over the summer, as everybody, I think, is going on holidays. And as you all were collecting in the waiting room, we were talking about the movement of people and maybe people traveling to the Greek islands. So I'll leave it at that. Here's our contact details. You're welcome to reach out to any of us at any stage, whether you're an early stage, an idea, or a later stage company, or even from the sector in general. Come to us. We probably have the connections and maybe the knowledge that will help your business or your entity. So I'll stop sharing and hand over to Andy. You want to get your slides ready?
Thank you for that, Angela. I just want to check you can hear me.
Yeah.
Lovely, because I don't know about you, my microphone has a bit of a sulk on a Monday morning because I've not been speaking to it all over the weekend and decides sometimes not to work. So that's good news. Let me just welcome all of you to this session on funding. I think, as Angela said, this is going to be a more interactive session where we're going to bring in some expertise from within ACEH Alliance with Caroline, who's got a list as long as your arm of projects that she's been involved with. And also Halampos from BITE, one of our project coordinators, one of the projects we're involved with as well. But we also want to, we're going to come over to you for these breakout sessions and listen to what some of your experiences are for funding, but also your needs too, because this is a session that's about building and sharing some of our collaborative experiences, because funding can be a bit fun sometimes. And I always say it's about putting the fun in the funding, but that's the last time you'll hear that from me today. Let me just tell you a little bit about the European Connected Health Alliance. We, just so you're aware, are a member organisation, okay? We've been around about 10 years now. People join us for many different reasons, primarily to promote their organisations and start connecting the dots with other like-minded small businesses, not-for-profits, charities, hospitals, university groups, etc. They also get involved with some of our funding projects, and you'll hear about one of those today. They also get involved with us because they want to find out about opportunities, not just within their own country, but in other countries to access funding and grants and loans, and collaborative pieces of work too. What we've got is a group of members which has grown exponentially during the pandemic to include about 850 member organisations. The vast majority of those, about 95% of those, are not-for-profit government bodies, hospital groups, academic organisations. And what that allows us to do is also attract in and bring in the voice of patient groups. We have about 80 to 90 patients and citizen groups who are members of the European Connected Health Alliance. That's important because that puts need on the table in terms of, a direct representation of what people need in the field of maybe dementia or kidney problems. But also we're bringing together an enormous group of academic organisations, including DPIT from Dundee. In one of the largest groups, around 230 universities and academic partners. So that enables from the get-go a level of collaboration that we think is unprecedented. But it also means is we can bring those groups together in what we call ecosystems. And those ecosystems are permanent multi-stakeholder gatherings that bring together all the stakeholders that you can see in front of you. So not just education and research, but patients and third sector, companies, health and social care professionals, funders, and also policymakers. And they're there within our ecosystems to lead with a need, but mostly to break down some of the silos that exist in health and care. Those silos have been there since I started. work in health and social care back 30 years ago, and they're probably even worse now in some ways than they were then. But they're also there to transform healthcare, to actually do something, not just a talking shop. So our ecosystems bring also startups and SMEs, which is why we're here today, because we also think our ecosystems are great places to create economic growth. Because if you think about the largest area of spend in many of our economies is in health and social care, and yet we see it as a burden, not an economic opportunity. So that's a little bit about our ecosystems. We have a network now of going to be 70 ecosystems. By the time the summer's over with, we'll be launching our 70th in Japan. I joined the first one back 10 years ago in Manchester, and I was in a network of one, which is slightly strange. But that's grown, again, partially because of the pandemic, but over the last 2 years, it's doubled in terms of our size. To see, ecosystems coming in from places such as Moldova or Iceland, or this year we've seen them open up in other countries that we would never think possible before. What that enables us to do is give our members an opportunity to collaborate and work together in a large global network that we think is unprecedented. What it's also bringing together is opportunities to collaborate around funding. So today's topic is funding. It's no surprise that most of our ecosystems are also involved with accessing government funding, whether it be national, regional, but also European, or what we sometimes see is funding that goes between continents. So, for instance, to work between Europe and Canada, or maybe Korea and Spain. So some of these funding opportunities allow and bring in innovators like yourselves to come in and take part in, and also learn from other organisations from across our network. And then just lastly for me, what we've started to do now is build that ecosystem network, not just in a geographical sense, but we've built now 7 new thematic ecosystems, which instead of being geographically based are horizontal. And they're bringing in the best from across our ecosystem network, from across our membership organisation, targeting and doing a deep dive in areas such as mental health or skills for health. This network of ecosystems will grow because people like to be able to collaborate on a cross-border basis. So we're also looking at building up new ecosystems coming up next year, we think, on pharma, life sciences, possibly continent, and also excitingly data. I bring data to the table today because it's one of the topics we covered earlier in one of our sessions with Angela, because data is important. What we've done in the European Connected Health Alliance is create the Digital Health Society, which is our, for want of a better word, and we used to have quite a long-winded way of talking about where it is and what it's from. It's our data arm. And that's a multi-stakeholder initiative, bringing in opportunities to both share, reflect and mobilise around the field of health data. But we'll come on to that in future follow-on sessions. I'm going to hand over now to my colleague, I think. I'll just stop pressing the button here, because we want to get on to the topic of today, which is funding. Angela, I think we've got we have a slide in terms of the agenda, because I think our next colleague up is Carolina, I think. Is that correct?
Yes,
or is it Carolina? Yes.
Carolina, yeah.
Carolina.
Thanks, Andy. Thank you very
Introduce
much.
my colleague Carolina, who is our International Project Director for the European Connected Health Alliance. Fantastic experience, and we'll talk about what we do and where.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andy, for introduction, and also, well, not introduction only to me, but to the Alliance, and I will build on that. What you see in the agenda is written the overview of the Alliance projects, and you know, what's interesting in this for you in terms of this particular workshop, I think is like why the European Connected Health Alliance is actually doing the projects, and how the EU-funded projects can be used to support the objectives of the organization. And of course, this, I will just hint here at the beginning, and I'm sure we are all aware of that only if the projects can be successful only if they actually are connected to some other strategic goals of the organizations, like not totally disconnected from what is on your agenda otherwise, or disconnected from the expertise you have in the organization. So here, just what Andy already started talking about, what the European Connected Health Alliance is. But in the maybe other visual presentation, divided into 3 key areas. People, so here you already heard about our members, the very broad community of experts in the digital health. Then the knowledge part, so here of course the Alliance as such, but also the Digital Health Society or the Digital Health Observatory, and the innovation. And here you can see that under the innovation, we actually have the projects. So this is meant that the projects in the Alliance, they generate, they support, they accelerate the innovations. But of course, this is not only the activity that sits in a silo. On the contrary, this is the horizontal activity that of course connects the people, connects the community, gives the community a platform to work together, and of course they generate the ideas, expertise, science, so fit in to this part of the knowledge creation. This has been already said who we are, but I just want to again show it that when we think about the projects are done not for our own sake to be busy with the pages of applications and then reporting and then admin work. The projects are done to connect, to realize the key mission of the Alliance, which is connecting the dots and making sure that we bring the value to our members, to our networks, and also support our members. So if you are our member, not only you will receive the monthly newsletter when you will read about the tenders, fundraising opportunities for funding, but also maybe you will send an email to Andy like, hey, I'm interested in this call, but I need more people to work with, and then I will be working with Andy on identifying the right members. This is also what we are currently doing for one proposal on AI. And this already was also shared, but I will approach this from the other perspective. So if we think about the projects, like there is numerous funding opportunities, the topic of the digital health is so broad that basically we could think like, well, every project that comes our way is relevant for us, because if it's about digital and health, then it's relevant for us. But we are trying to, of course, be a bit more selective or strategic in thinking what projects are actually relevant for us, which projects will bring the value, which project will help us actually building, for example, the community and building the relevant knowledge for the community. So here, it does not matter, like your organization might have very different or you might have different things written in those boxes. But what I'm trying to say here is that look what are the strategic objectives of the organization and try to fit with the projects to those that are really, really important. So for example, if I take the health procurement as the thematic innovation ecosystem that is of our interest in the Alliance to develop, to boost, to empower, then I'm also looking for the projects that are on the health procurement and can help me bring this mission forward. So there is a call, just also hinting here, there is currently a call in Horizon Europe on the health procurement network, and this is also something where we are working with some of our members to actually materialize it, to bring the solid proposal. And here then on the overview of our projects, I will not go deeply into what they are. You can check them on our website, alliance/project. But what I'm trying to show here is that we have the variety of different projects active or very recently closed. They differ in the topic from, for example, gatekeeper, and also size.
Carolina, I don't think we're seeing your slides. Are others seeing the slides? Maybe the audience could let me know. I may have a different view than others.
You are not.
Yeah, I can see them.
You can see them. Okay, maybe it's just me as the host. Okay, just to check 100%. No, it's just good to check. There's no point in continuing.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So please let me know if you don't see my slides, but it seems that okay.
Sorry to break your train there. Thanks very much.
No worries, but nevertheless, the slides will be available. But here, I'm showing Angela the logos of the projects that we are engaged in, and saying that, well, the projects, there is a big portfolio of the projects. They differ in size and they differ in topic, and they also differ in the funding instrument where we get the support for. And for example, Gatekeeper project, that's the large scale pilot, which is like 46 partners, 4-year project, which is about building the platform that connects the demand and support side for the smart living solutions that support healthy aging. About smart work, Charis will say a bit more on that, but you also see here the project, for example, the PALS, Participatory Urban Living for a Sustainable Environment. This is the project that actually ended last year. So there is a number of projects from different funding, and maybe just a short overview. I don't know how much you guys are familiar with those different fundings, and of course there is more than what I'm showing here, but just to give you the overview of like most commonly used EU funding that are available is the Horizon 2020, which is currently the Horizon Europe, because the Horizon Europe program has been launched together with the new budgetary framework for the EU, and it's now called Horizon Europe. And this is the action that is commonly used for research and innovation actions. Then there is Erasmus Plus. This some of you might recognize. This is more on the side of developing the skills, vocational training, like bringing the experts from the different sectors together. Very practical. While the Horizon might be more like high level research development, Erasmus is very, very practical. It also differs in a budgetary scope. Usually the budget is a bit like much lower than the Horizon. Then we have also the EU Chauffeur project, which is financed under Interreg Europe. And this is the whole story here about the Interregs. And some of you might know that there are actually like 3 Interregs, which is like the different level of the so Interregs are for cross-border cooperation, a bit on like policy making, but also practical implementation. And there are 3 different levels of the Interregs, which is like really like cross-border between the regions, and then the more like regional. And then there is the Interreg Europe, which, well, the name suggests it's Europe, and this is like the most policy, like on the level of policy making or supporting the regional policies, implementation of the regional policies. And then still coming back to Horizon, but a different action, not the research and innovation. There are also the so-called CSAs, or coordination and support action. And those are the action that actually support some policy developments in the EU on the European level by coordinating and supporting. So which means like bringing the knowledge already developed by other projects or initiatives, and for example, preparing some policy policy recommendations for the EU, or some implementation recommendations, guidelines for the EU. And then there is this, we have also a new funding instrument in our portfolio. Now it's 1 project, but the other project will start after the summer. It's this IMI. This is also a bit of lack of Horizon, but this is under Innovative Medicines Initiative for joint undertaking. And this is the cooperation between the researchers, developers, policymakers, EU Commission, and the pharma industry. So there is also this model for cooperation. So this is important here to understand a couple of things. First, there is a number of different funding instruments. They differ in scope. They differ in what they actually, what they support, what kind of activities they support, budget, eligibility. So in some projects, I don't know, SMEs might be very much welcome. In some other projects, they might not necessarily be allowed to join, despite the fact that actually SMEs are very much welcome in most of the projects today. There is of course the project should seek the cooperation with business. Yeah, so and they of course also differ in, maybe that's also important to say, in co-financing. So some programs like Horizon offer the 100% co-financing, while Erasmus is around 80%. Interregs are depending on which country you're coming from. This can be 75%, it can be 85%, it can also be 100%. And then maybe just of course, Horizon Europe. I'm sure that some of you already probably maybe are working on the projects for the calls. It was published in June, and the first deadlines are already in September. It was very much like the program, the publication of the work program was delayed by 2 months. So the whole community was thinking that also the original deadline will be delayed, but it was not. So coming already on after summer. And of course, like, we work in a digital health. So the first, part of this work program when we read is this health cluster, but it's also important to notice that the calls that are relevant to our work might be somewhere else than only in the health. So here I list also the digital industry and space, for example. There are some calls that are relevant to what we are working on and what we want to develop in the future in the Alliance, and also the civil security. So that's important to, okay, you didn't find something that is interesting and relevant for you here, but are there some other funding opportunities that maybe don't have health in their name, or the calls that don't have the health, but are actually something, I don't know, about sustainable development, societal impact, technological support for the, I don't know, for common good, and so on and so forth, where actually like your work is relevant. And so maybe just to also make your life easier in navigating through those funding, different fundings being available there, I also encourage you to join the Alliance monthly member-to-member newsletter, including the funding opportunities scouted by us for our community. But for that, of course, we invite you to be the member of our organization. So in that sense, you don't sign up for that particular newsletter. It comes with the membership. So this is from me, the very brief overview to show you how many different opportunities they are, and also make you aware that the best way to use them is actually to align them with the strategic objectives of your organization. Thank you so much.
Thanks for that, Carolina. Very, very informative. And I think for a lot of people, a lot of information there about different funds, and some of those might be new to you and some not. So we'll perhaps delve a little bit deeper into those in our breakout sessions next.
Exactly. And I've read the comment that the slides might not be moving. So of course they will be shared with you. I will send the PDF to Angela and yeah.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Excellent. So one other thing, when we talk about funding, a lot of people say, "Oh, that sounds a bit too difficult," but it isn't. I mean, funding is one of those things that can help innovation, and certainly where we've been involved with successful programs, and I've been involved with funding for the best part of 30 years as well. It can be the thing that helps glue organisations together, and also enhance and also expand levels of innovation too. So it's worth thinking of funding in perhaps a different way than you thought of it before. What we're going to do now is we're going to bring in a different level of expertise from one of the project coordinators from one of the projects you've just heard about there, SmartWorks, which is Relevance from Byte in Greece. They've got a tremendous level of experience of working in Europe. And I think what we're going to hear today is some of the do's and don'ts that you get from getting involved with project funding. I love these sort of sessions because they come from people's actual experience, like Caroline is, of where things have gone right, but also gone wrong. So I'm going to hand over to our colleague, Harry Lambos, if share your screen.
Yep. Thank you very much, Andy, for that introduction. And let me share my screen. Just making sure that everybody's properly listening. Is that okay?
Yep, that's
everybody's listening fine. Excellent. So good morning to all, and I'm delighted to be here with you, talk a little bit about EU funding possibilities and collaborations in this type of projects based on a specific case study, which is the Smart World project, as a project that's currently undergoing development. It's nearly its end. And Carolina also made a very brief introduction about that. So thanks for the invitation. I am going to give a little bit of background about me in the sense of showing you a little bit about where do I come from. I'm primarily a computer scientist. I did my studies in the UK, my bachelor's at Queen Mary University, and then I did my master's at the University of Oxford with a particular emphasis on artificial intelligence. I've been involved in this type of projects for many years now, starting from 1999. So my very first project was iMedia, which was a project funded under the 5th Framework Program. So I go way back in this type of projects. And the reason I started getting involved in these projects back then, it's because when I did my Oxford years, we studied there UML, which is a notation language for information systems, and this was something that was needed back then for this particular project. So that's how I got involved, evolving from all different framework programs covering all these years up to Horizon 2020, which is a Smart World project, was submitted for that framework program. Now looking into Horizon Europe, as Carolina said, which is the brand new framework. And I'm also involved in different elements, such as Digital Europe, which is a new framework program also, which is a program that we expect to be launched as well in September. And this was just a really brief overview for my background that will help audience during the breakout sessions to have a fruitful discussion. So this is what do I know about this project. And now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the story of Smart Work and let's say guide the audience through the different phases and show you how this project became a reality. So Smart Work project, it's basically a project that builds on a working-centric AI and artificial intelligence system that's focusing on the workability and sustainability of elderly people. It basically integrates unobtrusive sensing devices, creating a model of the worker state, and basically provides novel services, innovative new services that will help the worker by providing tailor-made and accurate interventions, both towards the elderly worker as well as other colleagues in his environment, such as project managers, collaborators, and so on and so on. It's aiming at designing basically an age-friendly living as well as working spaces for the elderly. This is the suite of services that Smart Work offers, very, very briefly, just to let you know on the background behind this proposal, this project, because it's related to the following slides. It's providing a set of services for the office worker, the elderly worker, the Healthy Me that monitors the health, the workability that measures the psychophysical aspects, UB work that helps him basically continue working from different locations unobtrusively, and the work coach that's providing support and keep on the lifelong learning experience for different new training experiences, as well as supporting services for other stakeholders, such as the employer, to monitoring the team and the team progress, and potential carers that actually looking after the elderly. So this is what SmartWorks is about. Let's see where it all began. Everything began back in 2018 when this proposal was basically envisioned, and there was a specific goal back then in Horizon 2020 about adaptive, smart working and living environments supporting active and healthy aging. This was the specific goal that was launched in 2018, asking for proposals to focus on specific elements. And this is a very key point in proposal preparation, looking very, very extensively on the work program call, because this will guide you through all the phases of the proposal preparation and will give you hints on what do you need to make a very successful proposal. So on the scope element of the proposal, you had, because in every call, you basically have two major important elements. You have the scope, and then you have the impact that you want to have in your proposal. So on the proposal side, on the scope side, we needed to have proposals that develop and validate digitally enabled adaptive services and solutions leading to smart work environments for older adults. So that puts right away the context on what proposals should focus on. It also drew our attention on the fact that we needed to have transdisciplinary research, meaning that we needed to have research on different elements, such as psychological aspects, physical aspects, sociological aspects, et cetera, et cetera. We needed to convince in our proposal that we have a progress that's beyond the state of the art. When we're talking about innovation in this type of projects, then we need to go beyond the state of the art. We need to monitor what's out there right now, and then we need to provide proposals that are focusing on new research, groundbreaking research, most of the cases. And then we had other elements that put the context of the project, such as the fact that we need to build on active user engagement. We need to have a continuous streamline of data to have the user directly involved into the project. So you've seen from the previous services that this is what we intended to do. And finally, we needed to present solid methodologies and metrics appropriate for measuring the progress, focusing on the specific expected impact that this project needed. So this gives us the should. This gives us the idea of where we should move in terms of the proposal. And this was not actually a very easy call. This specific call was aimed for 25 million in terms of overall budget. It asked for around for proposals for projects that were requesting something between 3 and 4 million euros. So there's an estimation of around 7 projects being funded. The total number of proposals that were submitted at that call were 85. So you see the success ratio for Horizon 2020 was relatively high. So the way to start working on this type of proposals is basically either top-down or bottom-up, meaning that you either have a very, very good idea about a new innovative approach for a system, for a methodology, for something along these lines. And then when you see the work program, you try to see where it fits best and adapt it according to what the program asks. And the other way around is to basically look at the program in detail, look at the call and what the call is requesting, and then see whether you can combine existing research from your organization, new ideas that you have been recently discussing, and see whether you can fit those into a proposed call. One of the go or no go factors that we see also, it's the success rate. So this was a really good case because you had around 3 to 4 million per project. You had a 25 million budget. So 7 projects overall, it's not a bad number. If we see other cases such as cybersecurity calls in the recent Horizon Europe call, that you get basically 1 proposal funded. This is actually, as you can imagine, not a very, very helpful ratio. What were the factors that are making an excellent proposal? What we can summarize very, very briefly. So at one point, we have the scope of the call, as I mentioned before, what the proposal should cover. And this is basically 2 major elements that we need to see. We need to have compliance to all the requirements in the call of excellence. So we need to cover most of these aspects. And then we have to have the novelty, let's say, to cover the objectives that are requested by the call and make sure in our proposal they're very clear and significant. Then we move into the impact. We need to address all the expected impact in the call and make it both credible and quantified. So in all aspects of the proposal, we need to have a focus on associating, for instance, as I mentioned before in the scope, we need to associate objectives with results. We need to make objectives somehow quantifiable, make them associated with potential KPIs, indicators that will measure how good we have covered these objectives and how much. So this is the same with impact. We need to address the impact. The impact is quite a very, very strong section in these projects, in these proposals. And we need also to have economic and societal impacts that are addressed separately with appropriate terms and numbers. So again, figures that are associated with the economic and societal impact that these projects have. In certain cases, depending on the call, you might have other elements of impact that you need to address, such as health economics and other elements, which also plays a vital role in the choice of your consortium. Finally, we have implementation, which is another critical factor. We need to have a proposal that's very clear. There's a logical sequence between the steps. Your work program, your tasks, your Gantt charts are quite understandable. The results that are expected from each section are justified, are realistic in terms of timing, in terms of content, and you can actually show how these are interlinked. They need to be obviously credible and convincing in terms also of your consortium. And this is quite an important element as well. Building the consortium. You need to cover all competencies and provide the relevant experience and expertise that you want for this specific project that you're proposing. One of the most important factors is the initial, let's say, 5 pages of the project. What we present as the needs, the rationale behind the project, what we present as the objectives, and what we need to cover. These are the things that will get the reviewer hooked the very first 5 pages. After that, if you don't get the evaluator in those very first 5 pages, let's say, more or less, he's looking for, I mean, if you get him convinced in these 5 pages, then he would look the rest of the proposal to find the evidence to pass it. And then the other way, we'll look for evidence to reject the proposal. So this is a very critical factor. Building the consortium, as I said before, it's one of the key points. We've tried to build a very sound consortium that fits the needs of the proposal and the needs of the call. So we try to incorporate the appropriate geographical expertise, and gender considerations as well in our partnership. And you usually find yourself in a dilemma about whether you want to build the consortium for your proposal based on the existing contacts that you have on the network and try to fit them in, or perhaps go out and seek a brand new partner. Usually you have this dilemma because over time you collaborate with many different organizations. You know which ones of them are good. You know which ones of them can deliver the work. And from personal experience, collaborating with ECH Alliance for the first time, I must say they've done a wonderful job in SmartWorks, and I'm really happy to have this collaboration with them and look into new collaborations in the future. You need to be you need to be with a reliable network. But then again, if a certain partner doesn't fit your exact needs, don't be afraid to move on and try to find another one. Get connected with your network, get their opinion about the potential new partner, because their experience, their profile might fit in the needs much better. So you need to have a group of people and base the selection on competitivity, growth, and employment. So the selection should have these elements. You should analyze in detail the functions of the project, and then you should try and map these functions to the partners and find the appropriate partners for this. So you get a scope that says, for instance, that you need to have an environment, a sensing framework environment to model the behavior of the user. You need to go out and search for a company that's really has a proven record of building these type of solutions. You need to have a socioeconomic impact analysis methodology incorporated into your project. Or for instance, we have a proposal that I've written, which is about cancer, and it has a lot of psychological aspects involved and societal aspects involved. I choose a company which really specializes on oncopsychology. So they have proven very useful on trying to put a methodology that models exactly the behavior of cancer patients. So building the consortium is quite a critical aspect. And this is one of the key success factors of the project. You have in SmartWork a really good pan-European project. We bring expertise, which is complementary, people from different companies with specific skills. In total, from 10 expert organizations, 8 different countries on different aspects. So you have to cover the technological aspects. You have to cover the running of the pilots, as we do here in SmartWork. We have pilot cases from CDC, from Coimbra in Portugal, and we have also another pilot from Aarhus. We have partners that are involved in the sensoring infrastructure, SparkWorks, Rosing, and then we have different partners also from academia that are involved in the research elements of the project. So this is a very critical aspect. So everything we've done about this proposal leads up to the evaluation summary report, which is basically what the reviewers think of your proposal. And to be honest, in SmartWork, we did quite good. We have 3 major criteria in every evaluation report. We have excellence, which we got 5, which is top marks from a threshold of 3. We had impact, as I mentioned before, quite an important element again, where we got 4 out of 5. And finally, quality and efficiency of the implementation, which gave us another high score of 5, giving us a total of 14. So that puts us quite high on the ranking of all the projects. And this was important because out of the 85 proposals, the proposals that were above threshold were 28. And all of this requested for around 110 million euros. And as we said before, we only had, the Commission had only 25 million to give. So that 14 as a total put us quite high in the rankings and gave us a really good shot at getting funding, which we did. And we led to running quite a successful project so far. We are in the piloting phase, and we have produced until now some really sound, scientific, and and technological results, which we're eager to put out there for the pilot phase and conclude our project in success. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm sure we have loads of things to talk about during our breakout sessions, and I'm really looking forward for this interactive discussion. So, Andy, I give the floor back to you. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I think really, really useful deep dive insight into what it's like to start building a project proposal from scratch. And what's nice is I can remember being involved very, very early on in exploring partnership opportunities for this. One of the nice things that I can sort of do is back up what Paralampos has said, and also Carolina, because we've got experience, obviously, of being involved with project proposals, but I can say I've done assessments for the European Commission for a long time, and what was said there about excellence, I cannot overemphasize, because the competition is very, very high. The bad news, and I always say this to people, is sometimes the unpleasant pill to take is that not all the project proposals that are submitted are very high quality. And some of them, obviously in some cases, are more high quality, some of them aren't, but you really do have to think very carefully about building excellence throughout your project, no matter whether it's for European Commission funding or funding from your national government or regional government. So that's just a by way of an aside. We're going to move now to where it starts getting funky, because we're going to start doing some interactive work using breakout rooms. This means you're going to slowly disappear in a process. Angela might explain better than me, but you will be assigned a little room, and all of a sudden you'll be disappearing off. I think that's probably going to happen now. Angela, over to you.
Yeah, so I'm just going to break into